The question is, why do people want us to have a conversation? It's very simple. Look at where we are. Look at how we are. Tell me who is happy with where we are and how we are. Somebody needs to explain why we are where we are. I'm one who frequently talks about our peers from days gone by and where they are. At the point I started running away from mentioning certain country names because I've become so associated with Southeast Asia that sometimes before I start talking, somebody will start mentioning the country I will talk about. So I began to avoid Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and all of those countries. People forget that I started my academic career mainly as a student of Latin America, economics of development in Latin America. But by the late Middle 80s, it was clear that Asia was where to be interested in, and I began to look at Southeast Asia and came to be typecast as the Southeast Asia person. In fact, I got to a point where UNIDO wanted to take Nigerian leaders to go and see, go and learn how they have done it in that part of the world. And when they convened the senators, the ministers to go, UNIDO came and said, "You are the Nigerian expert of that region, can you join them?" I thought, okay, now I am finally completely sold out here. But we need to look at our peers and look at where they are and look at where we are. And if we look at it, we'll know that something is wrong. And any people who find a problem must look for how to solve those problems. And it seems clear to any serious observer that part of the Nigerian challenge, the reason we are not where we should be, is that there is a problem of nationality, which takes away from commitment to building the Nigerian nation. Now, people talk about corruption. Something talk about a great deal. I like to refer to a book written by, or edited, a volume edited by two gentlemen called Chukulo and Hope Senior and Chukulo on corruption. The title of the book is Corruption and Development in Africa. First paragraph of the book is so humiliating, and it runs something like this: corruption runs the spectrum in Africa, from rare in Botswana to widespread in Ghana to systemic in Nigeria. That's the first line of the book. But there's a chapter by two professors from Ife in that book. And you ask yourself, why is Nigeria's corruption so endemic, so deep, so systemic? And you go back, there's a really brilliant, one of Nigeria's most outstanding political scientists, Peter Ike. Peter Ike is used to be a professor in Ibadan back in those days, but he's been at the University of New York for many years now. Many years ago, he wrote a very profound piece, The Two Publics, in which he talked about civic culture in Nigeria as such that, there are, people like bifurcation. There is a Nigerian who will be secretary of his village association meeting and not even think of touching a kobo, will go to the federal treasury and take everything in it and not realize he's doing anything wrong. It's because that one does not belong to anybody. But this one, this is my village own. If I touch it, something can happen to me. It's called the tragedy of the commons. That which belongs to all belongs to none. And the fundamental Nigerian attitude is that what is Nigeria's belongs to nobody. And so the typical civil servant, the typical politician, as somebody said to me yesterday, I don't know if it's good to quote him, it's a well-known person who was appointed to a major public position but recently resigned. I was asking him the day before yesterday, what happened, And he said, going to government was a nightmare. He said, because everybody that comes says to you, this is your time to just take the thing. People do not believe that what is Nigeria's belongs to them. They just take it. And they sentence all of us to the humiliation of being where we are when our peers are where they are. It's a certain short-sightedness, certain what the British will call penny wise, pound foolish. Because my thesis is that the best self-interest, the most selfish you can be, is located in the advance of the common good of all. If the common good does not move forward, you think that because you are cornering this, and then you do stupid, dumb things, kind of things they do, buying private jets. One man has 2 private jets back at the airport. See, people who design those airplanes, design them to be permanently in the air. They just come down, fuel, they go. And then one man has 2 packed. He could never possibly effectively utilize one, and he has 2. Because he just went and took the thing. And so when we created this kind of imbecile elite, they have come out of a culture in which Nigeria belongs to nobody. And that is what has set the tone of how our country is structured. Because of it, the resources of our country are not being deployed in a manner that will make for the kind of progress that our peers have seen elsewhere, and we as well. So, if you are in that kind of situation, it seems to make a lot of sense to ask, what is the problem? Let us sit down and talk about it. Instead, what we have seen is a collapse of culture in our country. So, talking is healthy. We should, that's why democracy is a wonderful thing. Create a marketplace of ideas, let people talk. Part of my problem with this whole business of talking about a national conference and all the meetings that are being read into, who is going, how he is going, is that people presume that this conversation is about 400 and something people. If it's about those 400 and something people, it's a waste of our time. It should be about 150 million now. All of us are involved in that conference. See, those 400 people are just setting an agenda. We must be on the internet giving our position about it. We must be in newspapers giving our position. We must be about it. Definitely. You know what that does to us? Huh? Forget about the outcome. The process is more important than the outcome.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes.
The process enables us to then own this thing and to say, oh, you know, our country is poor because we don't have vertical accountability. Because a person in power thinks that this is his own. It is not his own. It is our own. And this kind of conversation will bring it out. And we will know our rights. And we will know that we should hold him accountable. We will know that we should have simplicity in public life. That is an insult to the Nigerian people for a governor to pass with a 30 car motor. Because in other countries, the governor drives takes the tube. President Lyndon Baines Johnson said, when he was told that the Secretary for Transportation came in an official car or something. Say, but how does the Secretary know that there's a problem in public transportation if he doesn't take public transportation? He expected the Secretary of Transportation to come on the train to work every day. And that is what this kind of conversation enables us to do. So that public officials know. Look, let's be honest with ourselves. It's been a long time since I last saw a governor on a commercial flight. Not even a minister. They are all taken to chartered jets. On whose account? Whose money? And people don't know these things. This kind of conference is supposed to educate us to understand our rights, and these people don't have. You go to the US, get on a commercial flight, there's a likelihood that the minister, they call them secretaries, will be in row 28B.
Yes.
In economy.
Yes.
That is the likelihood, the secretaries. There will be about 3 cabinet ranking officials in the US that are given because of the security of their jobs. Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and the rest, they are flying economy. Because unless they do that, look, it got so bad. Somebody, a minister, American cabinet official, in Colorado, for an official assignment, wanted his wife to come with him. He bought his wife's ticket. The wife flew, got there, finished, they flew back. When they got back to Washington, just so that people won't accuse him, he entered the official car and his wife, whose money? The young people are the ones who should begin to stand up about these things.
That's right.
You see, in our time, I'm telling you, in our time, before the announcement is finished, we are demonstrating already.
Straight away.
I can tell you, I was a student union leader. The day Murtala Mohammed was killed, the coup plotters were still at large. We didn't know whether the coup had failed or succeeded. We were demonstrating already.
That's it.
We don't see that happen. It's your future that is at stake. You have as much a right as anybody, and what's more important, you have the power. We're talking about a demographic dividend for Nigeria because we have a youth bulge. More than 65% of those eligible to vote in Nigeria are age of 30. Imagine if the generation decides that we don't want these characters, we want them all out of this place. You can do it with ease. And so, not to participate in a conference discussing the future.
Sorry, sir. Could you repeat that sentence again? Could you please repeat that sentence again? Not to, that they have the power to.
Oh, they have.
Please tell them again.
Yes,
please, again.
The youth of this country constitute the majority to watch those football matches. Instead of shouting Arsenal, Chelsea, we should be shouting good governance or whatever it is as we follow those conversations with accountability.
Yes.
This is what this process is supposed to be about. So what's there to discuss at this conference? Many. How do we get leaders to focus on the common good rather than narrow things? A major issue. Establish a certain culture of what public, and we need to make that change.